This time I'm going to show you how to properly use a tape measure. Actually, I'm going to show you a bunch of little tricks that you probably didn't know about a tape measure. So one of the cool things about tape measures is that most tape measures show 16 inches and then 32 and so on and so on. And the reason for that is because studs are normally 16 inches on center. So what you're going to see is like a little caption thing, you know, like a little, see, 16 inches on center. And then when you get to 32, you'll see another one. So it makes it really easy when you're seeing that mark to mark 16 inches on center. The diamond that you see at 19 1/4 is there for a reason. That's if you want to, instead of 16 on center, if you wanted to put 5 studs, say in an 8-foot span, then you would use that diamond at 19 1/4. So the hash marks at the bottom here, you got 1/4 inch, right? So this is quarter, 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 and quarter. So that would be 1 inch. 4 quarters is 1 inch. But there are other tape measures out there that will actually show you all your measurements. So we can go from 1 inch here. It's a little more clear if I can get my camera right. So these markings are already there. So you got 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, half, etc., etc. Another cool feature about most tape measures nowadays is they have a locking device. So when you push down on this, or pull back as it were, then it locks the tape in. So if I wanted 10 inches and I wanted to mark it right there, and I have nobody else, then I can just set it down and it's locked in. So the problem is that not all tape measures are created equal. This one is a Stanley. What does it say? So when I bought it, it said Power Lock, Stanley Power Lock. And this locking device obviously is supposed to lock in, which it does. The issue is that I can easily slide it back and forth, and that matters if I've got this hook on the end of something I'm trying to measure, and you know, like I'm pulling on it, it comes loose. This one, which is basically has no name on it, it's just a no-name brand tape measure that I got at Home Depot, doesn't say Power Lock, but watch this. When I lock it in, I'm not moving this. This is not moving. This is truly a power lock, and this is what I want, because again, if I'm by myself and I want to hold it there, it's not going to move. It's not going to go anywhere. So one of the other cool things about a tape measure, and you may think it's a defect, on every tape measure you have a little play at the very end of it, and that is intentional. The manufacturer puts that little play in it, and the reason why is because that's the 1/16 of an inch. So if you actually measure this inch, it wouldn't be quite an inch. It depends on what you're measuring, inside or outside diameter on things. So this play is intentional. If you actually are holding this on some type of piece of wood or something like that and you're pulling out, it's going to pull out that 1/16 of an inch. Therefore, it's going to give you a true measurement. If you're pushing in on something, if you're doing an inside measurement, then that 1/16 of an inch would be made up for that 1/16 of an inch on the end of it. So you would pull up on here and come up to the very top, and at the very top it says 25 1/4 exactly. But if you push down on this, it wouldn't say 25 1/4. And then conversely, if you wanted to measure the inside of it instead of the outside of it, then you would just set your tape measure up on the inside and lock it in. Once you've locked it in, and you've already gone up all the way to the top, then you're going to have your true measurement. And you're saying, really? How do I get my true measurement with the tape measure inside of the box? That doesn't make any sense, because it's not really truly 21 inches, right? Well, on the back of almost every tape measure, if you look really close here, it's going to show you the arrow from left to right is going to give you the exact measurement of this tape measure. So in this case, the distance between, the distance from left to right happens to be plus 2.5 inches. It says it right there, plus 2.5 inches. So in other words, that measurement I just did would be 21 plus 2.5 inches. Therefore, when you set the tape measure, that's 2.5 inches, and when you bring it out to the very top on the inside of a measurement, you're going to get that 2.5 inches plus whatever your measurement is that you just showed. So that would be 24 inches, and it makes it very easy when you're by yourself to take an inside measurement. And the locking system is there for a reason, and that's usually the reason when you're by yourself. The other cool thing about the end of these things is that sometimes they are serrated. You know, this one happens not to be, but it doesn't really matter. We use it as a scribing tool. So you're holding the tape measure and you want to mark this spot, but you don't have a pencil, you don't have a marking device. So you push down on this and you rub it to the left and the right, and all of a sudden you have a scribe. You have an area where you can actually tell where you're going to cut. The other cool thing that you may not know about the end of every tape measure is there's that little cutout. And that cutout is intentional also, because that's a locking mechanism for the end of a nail or the end of a screw head. So another issue you're going to run into when you're trying to measure something out, as I said, you know, this little, when you have this on the end of something, that pulls it out to your exact measurement. So on a piece of tile, for example, if you're trying to get a 3-inch cut and you measure this 3 inches with the tape measure extended out, that's not where you want to cut. That's going to give you exactly 3 inches to that line. So on tile or wood or anything else that you're cutting, you're going to cut on the outside portion of that line. Because remember, when you're extending this out, this little play at the end of it, right? When you pull this out, that gives you the exact measurement of 3 inches. And if you want to cut exactly 3 inches, you must cut on the outside of this line. So all you're going to do is add a tile saw blade thickness, which is usually about 1/8. So whatever your measurement is here, add 1/8 here and cut here, and you'll have a perfect 3 inches.